Hi guys, so today's video in the Lupus series is going to be about my story. So I'm going to explain to you how I got diagnosed with it, what happened before and after, and yeah, so let's get started. So I think I did my first blood test in my life when I was in 7th or something, and at this point I hadn't gotten my periods yet. Somehow my hemoglobin was low and it was like 7.5 or something, and my mother was worried and she takes me to a doctor and they gave me some sort of like tonic, but it doesn't really help. Like I feel like even in ninth, even when I hadn't really hit puberty, my hemoglobin was still like 9. And then somewhere mid ninth, people started to tell me like, I look yellow. Like my eyes were quite yellow, like where you can see white, it was yellow. And yeah, in general, even my sort of skin tone was more on the yellower side. And I just thought like, okay, no, it's just sort of something, I don't know, it's just a passing phase of yellowness on my skin. But yeah, and I was living under this delusion that things are fine. And for some reason, no one in my house would notice it either. They would also just like sort of, yeah, it will go on its own sort of thing. And then somewhere in December 2013, I got high fever and I was really unwell. So we go to this local doctor who, by the way, had once tried to scam me before into doing a surgery for a pustule, but we didn't do it. But my mother was still like, it's fine, we'll go and all that, and we went there. And this fellow was like, he just has one look at me and he's like, you have jaundice. So I was like, oh no, I just have fever. And he's like, no, you do have jaundice, I need you to get this urine test and a blood test done. And I'm like, okay, cool, fine. And before this also 2 years back, I had had fever once, and like the doctor was like, you might have jaundice and you have to get tested. And my mom was worried then, so I was like, okay, cool. And I was trying to reassure her then, and turns out I was fine. So this time I was like, no, I won't be sick and all. And I was like reassuring her and being all, oh yeah, I'm fine, I'm not sick, all of that. And then the reports come and turns out I do have jaundice. So we had to take the reports and go back to that very doctor. And as it turns out, he's all like, you should get admitted to the hospital. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. Can you give me some medicines and we'll see. And then he gives me some supplements and he tells me to avoid oil and everything. And then what happens is, for around 3 weeks I avoided all sorts of oily food, cheese, nothing, none of those things. And I was taking all these medicines because jaundice is something of the liver. So we were under that impression, if we reduce like oils and everything, I should be fine. And I was taking supplements for the liver. And 3 weeks later, we do another blood test and a urine test, and turns out my jaundice has increased. So now my mother is worried, and somehow I'm just confused. I'm like, okay, why is that happening? We go back to this doctor, and he's just like, I'm worried about this girl, and like, put her in a hospital immediately, and like, I'm in charge of this hospital nearby, you should put her there, and like, we'll take care of her, because look at her, she's just getting worse. And he sort of tricks my mom into believing all this. But then I go home and then I'm like, you know what, can we just consult this other doc that my brother used to go to, because he had like these asthma attacks and shit. And so we book an appointment, we go there, and he checks like, the reports, and then he does all the vitals, and then he's like, you know what, you don't have like a liver issue, you have an issue with blood which is causing jaundice, which is a sort of hepatitis. And yeah, so I'm gonna recommend you to hematologist. And then that's when I started going to my hematologist. Then I was diagnosed with autoimmune hemolytic anemia. My jaundice though went off in a matter of like 2 weeks after taking steroids. And yeah, so basically I was put on steroids then and iron. So yeah, my jaundice went off, but then I still had this autoimmune condition. And yeah, they sort of made me do some tests like DCT and ANA, and they were positive, so they were markers of an autoimmune condition. And they were like, okay, let's see, we're going to take these meds for a while and see how it goes. if you get fixed then great, but then the hope is dim if you have an autoimmune, because you don't really get fixed that quick. Then soon it was like 2-3 years and I'm still not off the meds. So I kind of lost hope, and I was like, you know what, this is not going to get fixed. My mother, on the other hand, she still thinks that one day I'm going to be off meds, which is great, but still. Then what happens next is, I think I was in 11th. I started meds when I was in like 9th, towards the end of 9th. Now I'm in 11th, mid-year. I get a fever, and then I rush home from college because I'm not well, and the fever goes down in a matter of few hours. But then that sort of worried my mother, because like I got a fever out of nowhere, and like all these while I had vacations, and like the very first day I go back to college I have fever. So then she's convincing me to visit the doc, and I am not really willing to. But then she's like, no, we can go, it's one day, and like, you know how moms are. And we went to the doc, and so whenever we go to the hematologist, we do a blood test right there. And well, we did a blood test, and turns out my platelets are really low. Like, it was a 4-digit count, and it was quite low. And now my doc is like, this is way too low, you're gonna have to be in a hospital, we're gonna put you on immunoglobulin, and we're gonna give you platelets via IV. And yeah, so that's how I ended up spending 3-4 days in the hospital for the first time, and my diagnosis changed from autoimmune hemolytic anemia to Evans syndrome, which basically attacks your platelets and your RBCs, WBCs. Like initially we thought the issues was hemoglobin and WBCs, that's why I had AIHA, and then they shifted to Evans syndrome. Yeah, so we continued with this for a bit. Then when I was in 12th, I started having some pain in my finger joints, like all these small joints here, that my knuckles, wrist, all of that. And like every morning I used to wake up and there used to be like this pain where it was hard for me to move them. And everyone just kept telling me that it's because I text too fast, or like I'm always on my phone, that this is happening. And I also believed them at this point, and my boards were coming up, so I didn't really have the time to look more into it, and I just ended up writing my boards that very phase. And next thing you know, when I'm in second year, which was like last year, now I'm gonna be in 4th year, yeah. So when I was in second year of degree college, again I'm having these pains, just that this time it's not just in my fingers, it's also in my toes, it's also in my knees, it's also in my elbows and my shoulders, and like there's no joints left uncovered at this point. So I am like consistently complaining to my doc, and he's like, what, go to a rheumatologist. So I ended up going to a rheumatologist, and she tells me, after like checking, that you seem to have rheumatoid arthritis, and we're gonna do some tests to confirm it. So initially I'm in disbelief, because I'm too young to have arthritis, and we do some tests like ANA antibodies and dsDNA and all of that, and from the markers that come out positive, my diagnosis was SLE, or multiple tissue connectivity disorder, which is what I have, lupus/multiple tissue connectivity disorder. So since lupus attacks various systems of your body, or like it sort of randomly picks a system to attack, mine just happened to be joints. And then they put me on to this medicine called H2 something. Well, it was some sort of weird chemical formula, but yeah. And she told me that I should have it for like a span of around 2 months, and things should be better. And at this point I'm like on 20 mg of steroids. I used to be on 5 mg for my blood issues, and now it's on 20 to reduce the joint pain, 20 or 10. And 2 months into it, nothing is fixed. And even the new medicine is of no use. So I'm just back at her, and she's like, what, like, since this is not fixing you, do you want to try this other medicine? It's given by IV. And I was really not up for it. My parents were not up for it, so we avoided that. But there was excruciating joint pain, and towards the end of second year, it just became harder for me to like even walk, to do normal things like maybe open doors, or like I said, walk, take out my laptop from my bag, all that sort of thing. And medicines were not really helping, so at this point they put me on opioids because some days the pain would just get bad, and because these joints were not just paining, they were swollen. They were acting up, they were red, and they were just hot to touch for some reason. And then eventually I got back, and then my doc was like, you know what, there's this homeopathy doc and she's quite effective, and like you can just go visit her once. So yeah, since then I've been on homeopathy. Like, it has helped a lot. There have been flare-ups which have been there. I mean, it's obviously not fully gone because like I said, it's a chronic condition and doesn't really go, so there is that. But it has actually helped me quite a bit. And oftentimes when I go to docs now for maybe like a dermatologist or something, and I'm like, I'm taking homeopathy for joint pain because lupus, and they're usually quite discouraging because they're like, homeopathy is not a solution and it's not permanent, and like, you never know when it might just come back with full force, and then you have nothing to go to, and like other doctors might not know how to fix it either. But honestly speaking, I was not up for IV medicines because they had a lot of side effects. Like, the options I had were rituximab, which is like a cancer medicine, like it fixes cancers, and there was methotrexate, which is also used for abortions, which also was not up for. So this was a really good option for me. And honestly, I've had one terrible flare up in the past 1 year, which is great. I mean, yeah, minor flare-ups are there here and there, but it's nothing that I can't really manage, especially after going through excruciating joint pain. So yeah, that's it guys. That's my story of lupus. And again, I'm gonna put down the link in the description to donate to the organization to help in researching about lupus and to find a cause or a cure. If you're in US, you can also apply to be an advocate of lupus, or you can be a part of campaigns and fundraisers. So make sure you do check it out and check what opportunities are available to you, and if you can, do be a part of it. And if you like this video, do share, subscribe, and I'm going to link down my social media below, so check that out as well. Thank you.